Welcome to the Central School of English Stage 5 video series. In this video, we will practice using in spite of, despite, and although. These are all words that we use to show contrast in English. The words in spite of and despite have the same meaning. After in spite of and despite, we either use a noun or a pronoun. Here are some examples of in spite of followed by a noun or a pronoun. He went for a walk in spite of the rain. She continues to study in spite of the cost. They played in spite of their tiredness. She didn't go home in spite of her illness. In spite of the expense, he bought a ticket. Here are some examples of despite, followed by either a noun or a pronoun. Despite hating cooking, he cooks every evening. The students were late for class despite leaving home early. Paul went to work despite his illness. Jane went for a walk despite the bad weather. Despite problems with unemployment, the president is popular. After the word despite and in spite of, we can also use the expression the fact that. When we use the expression the fact that, we can use despite or in spite of with a subject and a verb. Here are some examples of sentences with despite or in spite of followed by the fact that. In spite of the fact that it is quite difficult, many people learn a language. In spite of the fact that she had no money, Jane went out last weekend. Despite the fact that he felt tired, Paul watched a film on TV last night. Despite the fact that smartphones are expensive, they are very popular. We also use the word although to communicate a contrast. However, after the word although, we put a subject and a verb. For example, although John is tired, he will work until midnight. Although governments pass laws, these are often broken. The holiday was fantastic, although the weather wasn't great. Susan is going to work today, although she feels very ill. In this video, we have practiced using the words in spite of, despite, and although to describe contrast. We have learned that when we use the words in spite of and despite, we follow these words with either a noun or a pronoun. If we want to follow the words in spite of or despite with a subject and a verb, we must use the expression the fact that. We have learned that we use the word although to describe a contrast. We use a subject and a verb after the word although when we use this word to describe a contrast. This lesson was brought to you by the Central School of English, an English language school in Dublin. For more lessons, go to centralschool.ie.